Howdy y'all, Stock Warden here, back with another Palantir Technologies video. And today we're going to be doing a huge deep dive into Palantir Technologies options trading for their market sentiment. So this is going to be a video strictly on pushing out a lot of what their financials are looking at, where their ratings are going, what people are thinking, and also where it seems they're going to be heading with a lot of their current large investors. So this is not too much on a news aspect, but kind of going into where Q3 is going to be queuing up. So because we ought to get those results here up in the next few months, but as it stands right now, we'll be able to kind of continue on with this deep dive, and you'll be able to make a little bit better idea on what to somewhat expect here in the near future. So as we can see over the course of the week, that Palantir did stay within the confines of their resistance level here in between the 170, 171 marker, and then topping off at the 184, 185 marker, unable to completely bust through that 185 that we were all so hoping to happen. So as it stands right now, coming into the new week, you have deep-pocketed investors that have completely adopted the bearish approach towards Palantir Technologies, and it's something that really and truly most heavy investors in Palantir shouldn't necessarily ignore, because the way that the public options is being tracked is where they're seeing that a lot of these substantial investors are talking about making a big move. So we don't know necessarily whether that's going to be in the up or the down direction. Even though a lot of them are planning on a bearish, it is possible that the stock could drop a little bit for them to buy back in for something good to jump into, or it could be the other way around. So we have had a couple of big, deep-pocketed earners that were holding a pretty substantial amount of shares in Palantir Technologies sell over the course of the past few months. It hasn't been a large number of specific investors, but the specific investors that did sell sold a lot of shares, millions worth even. And that's where we ended up having this huge candle on August 19th, where we had a lot of large investors ended up coming down out of Palantir, which at that point they could have sold up in the 170s and bought back in at the 150, which is somewhat where you can hold a bearish trend at. So you can kind of look at that and see that a lot of their options are coming through. So Bazinga ended up checking out a lot of their options, and they highlighted 27 extraordinary options activities for Palantir Technologies, which is a little bit out of the ordinary, and that's where I'm thinking that this is going to be pushing more into the bullish aspect of things, where the large investors are treating it as bearish, meaning they're buying, getting ready for some type of good news to hit, is kind of what I'm looking at. Because if there's more options kind of upticking, normally that's a good thing for the stock into the upcoming market. So the general mood that Bazinga has put out is completely divided behind most investors, where they have a 44% leaning bullish and 48% bearish. Among these notable options, 7 are puts totaling 420,000 are 420,860, and 20 are calls, amounting to 995,000. So that is a huge set of options that have been pushed and pursued through Palantir. So their projected price targets, after evaluating all of the different trading volumes and everything that you can see, because right now the market cap being at 421 billion is absolutely astronomical. Standard volume 44 million, average volume on the 72 million end. You're looking at the major market movers are looking at a price target between 175 and 200, which is actually where we are currently residing. So, but that 200 number is still in effect that we are looking at. So, it's been something that has been crazy that we've all been looking forward to, because that 200 number has been something that's been stalking Palantir ever since Kramer put it out back early August. So that's going to be something great to look at, where you're going to end up checking out how you see the last 3 months kind of stacked up. It's definitely not out of the question to be able to say that they can't hit 200 in a reasonable amount of time. So, but in terms of liquidity and interest for Palantir, with the open interest for Palantir Technologies, the options trading on Friday was 9,949.64 with a total volume of 102,837. So it's been something pretty awesome for the options indicator to happen. So over the last 30 days, with the way they've been able to kind of come back up from their bearish trend, they've been able to hold on to a solid market and be able to push upwards to make back up for another bull run, as they have continued to do time after time again. So currently, they have been trading with over 5 million, and so that's why the price ended up kind of staggering up into, the 170, the high 170s, low 180s over the past couple of days in last week. So, but honestly, they still do have a set sight for that 200. And actually, this is something a little bit out of the ordinary, where 200 is kind of the highest that anybody has really seen out of a price target for Palantir. But there is one singular industry analysis that shared their insight on the backside of this stock, and they're proposing a price target of 215 a share. So now we have a little bit more on somebody else that's not just pushing 200, but pushing for 215. So even though there's a little bit more on the bearish talk on some of the news, but the bulls are still speaking louder. They are still charging ahead no matter which way you're looking at this. So, but that's the great thing, where you have some analysts that can come in, look at this stock, and kind of do a little bit of this deep dive, kind of like with some of the stuff that we're talking about, and be able to see where Palantir is really pushing for and where they're going, which that's going to kind of lead me into this next gig. That this is a little bit off of their options and the stock, but this is something that just goes to show the wholesome side of Palantir Technologies, because this is a huge company, it is a huge corporation. They are doing leaps and bounds all over the world at this point. So they are doing a 2-day showcase in Seoul in South Korea with limited edition company merchandise drops and all kind of different stuff that they have going just specifically in that South Korean market in Seoul, where they're setting up a little shop where they're going to be there for a couple of days just to kind of show face. But the crazy thing about this is that they are going out there to be able to show South Korea what they are and what they can be, because South Korea is the second largest international market for Palantir. So because South Korea not only is the second largest, but they also represent one of Palantir's most enthusiastic international fan bases. So that's not just necessarily options and trading and how much money that they've put into Palantir, but it's also people seeing who they are and what they're doing to be able to not just root for this company, but hold this company. So with the South Korean community understanding what's required when geopolitical realities demand technological superiority, they turn around and look to Palantir Technologies for all of their new great technology advancements. So the pop-up that they're doing is going to serve both a celebration and expansion of the organic community support, featuring partnerships with leading Korean companies to create an immersive experience for all of their fans to be able to recognize mission critical technology when it matters most. So, and if you don't know a whole lot about South Korea, check into South Korea's technology, because they are up and coming in a lot of sectors all across the board when it comes to technology. They are almost to the point where they are showing up and showing off all of their crazy technologies, where they have amazing just drone light shows that they've created and lit up the entire sky, making all kind of different objects and people and caricatures. It's just amazing. You'd have to go and research it just a little bit and you can see it. And with Palantir being kind of the backside of a lot of this thing, that what they're able to do and pursue and push forward, is great to be able to know that Korea is choosing Palantir to be their big headrunner for them completely boosting all of their technological advancements. So, with all of that, it's also something that Palantir came out and was making a statement where they believe that engaging directly with the communities that appreciate what they build, that they've always believed that the best way to serve our community is by working alongside them, not from a corporate headquarters. So that statement in itself, I really don't feel like I need to take any time on, because you have somebody and a company that is so huge, so far, so globally known, and they are stopping and taking the time to be able to show up in a small place to say, hey, we see you, we understand you, and we are here for you. And not just sending a memo halfway across the world to say, hi, thank you for using our product, give us more money. So that in itself is something that is amazing to be able to see out of a massive company. So just in the personal standpoint, that Palantir can stop and look at their people and their fans and go, hey, you matter too. That's something that's amazing for anybody to be able to look at and see that they are not just a corporation looking at money signs, dollars, sales, and shares. That they are humanitarian as well. So I believe this stock is going to end up having some big news coming up soon, where they're going to end up jumping. And with Q3, if you come down here to look at their earnings, where the estimate is going to be 0.17, and every single time Palantir has completely met and exceeded this entire sector for their earnings, then all this big stuff is going to end up going exactly where we're all hoping it to go. And that is straight up, people. So I hope y'all enjoyed the video. I hope I was able to get y'all a little bit more insight on some things that not everybody can get their hands on. So until the next video, this is the Stock Warden riding off. See, I'll come back now, you hear?